December 8, 1980. The New York air was sharp and cold. John Lennon walked beside Yoko Ono toward the entrance of the Dakota Building. In his hands, he still held a copy of Double Fantasy, freshly signed for a stranger. Moments later, 5 gunshots shattered the city's silence. It was the night that ended the life of a legend and shook the music world forever. John Lennon was the founder of the Beatles, the band that redefined modern music. After the Beatles disbanded in 1970, John pursued a colorful solo career. But in 1975, he stepped away from music entirely, choosing to focus on raising his young son, Sean. For 5 years, Lennon's voice was rarely heard in public. Then, in 1980, he returned with new energy. The album Double Fantasy marked his comeback. The day began like any other. In the morning, Lennon and Yoko posed for photographer Annie Leibovitz in their apartment. One of those photos, Lennon curled around Yoko, would become one of the most iconic portraits in music history. Later, he welcomed the crew from RKO Radio for a long interview. John spoke about his plans for a world tour, his new music, and his belief that life begins at 40. Around 5 p.m., John and Yoko left for the record plant studio. Outside, a man was waiting, Mark David Chapman. Chapman handed over a copy of Double Fantasy, and Lennon, as always, signed it with kindness. A passing photographer captured the moment. No one knew it would be the last public photo of John Lennon alive. At the studio, John spent hours recording Walking on Thin Ice, a track for Yoko. By 10:50 p.m., the couple returned to the Dakota Building. Yoko walked a few steps ahead. Suddenly, Chapman emerged from the shadows. He drew a .38 revolver and fired 5 shots. 4 of them struck John. John was still conscious when the doorman rushed over. Blood soaked his clothes, and he could only whisper, "I'm shot." There was no time to wait for an ambulance. Police officers sped him to Roosevelt Hospital, but the wounds were too severe. At 11:15 p.m., John Lennon was pronounced dead. The news spread instantly. Radio DJs across America stopped their shows to play Lennon's songs. Thousands of fans gathered outside the Dakota, lighting candles and singing Imagine into the freezing night. Around the world, people mourned, not just the loss of a musician, but the silencing of a voice for peace and love. Mark David Chapman didn't run. He sat quietly on the sidewalk, reading The Catcher in the Rye as police arrived. His motives remained tangled, a mix of obsession, disappointment, and mental illness. But one thing is certain: his actions ended a voice that had inspired millions. That night, the world lost more than just a musician. It lost a dreamer. John Lennon once said, "A dream you dream alone is only a dream. A dream you dream together is reality." His dream ended on a cold New York sidewalk, but his voice will echo forever.